While the placements and percentages may have changed slightly over time, if you look at the best Journey Together decks tier list in Japan, you'll see some familiar faces. Dragapult's at number 1, with Archaludon, Gholdengo, and many more making up the top 11. In this video, I'll be showing how older decks change with the release of new Journey Together cards, which arrive on March 27th in Pokemon TCG Live. For the most part, Dragapult EX doesn't need any new cards to win. It's been an S tier deck in Japan ever since the rotation in January, and it will continue to be the deck everyone hates seeing on PTCGL for months to come. But if you want to make some changes, there's two you need to be aware of. And the first, I refuse to admit I was wrong about. Because of Budew item lock and the loss of Lance, Dragapult players in Japan have begun running 2 copies of Brock Scouting. I stand by my original assessment that this is not a good card. Unfortunately, I forgot that the Pokemon Company wants us to suffer by making Dragapult the post-rotation BDIF, so they had to give it another helpful card to play around item lock. While Jacques is really good at getting Drakloak and Dragapult, and most Japanese players are Jacquing off with regularity, Brock Scouting gives the added flexibility of essentially being either a Buddy-Buddy Poffin or Evolution Incense. When you play Brock Scouting, you can either grab any 2 basic Pokemon from your deck and put them into your hand, or any 1 Evolution Pokemon. This is great early for getting Dreepy or a Drakloak to start drawing cards, and great late for Hawlucha or Blood Moon or Saluna. In many decks, Brock Scouting is useless. With Dragapult and some other Stage 2 decks, it simply offers you more ways to play the game. In terms of the list, you don't do much. Just take out Lance from your pre-rotation build and add Brock Scouting. I am concerned about how Japanese players are going for Unfair Stamp over Sparkling Crystal, as it means the one Crispin has to put in a lot of work. So don't be afraid to swap the A-Spec if you're regularly missing Dragapult attacks. Otherwise, there's one other new card you can add to Dragapult, Blaziken EX. Does it make the deck better? Not really. But maybe you can confuse your opponent long enough to win the game when you put down a Torchic. Effectively taking the place of Dusknoir, Blaziken accelerates an energy from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon. This makes life a lot less stressful when it comes to powering up a fresh Dragapult. Additionally, because the deck already runs Fire and Psychic Energy, you can attack with Blaziken to hit Grass and Metal types for weakness. Not only that, you can chuck in a copy of Lillie's Clefairy EX for the mirror match. As you can see from the list, there's still a heavy focus on TM Evolution with just 2 Rare Candy. So you might do nothing for the first couple of turns, which is totally fine for Dragapult. Then it's a simple case of using Math to win while not getting distracted by Combusken's feat. Ultimately, Blaziken doesn't make Dragapult better, but I felt obligated to at least show it off so people in the comments can complain about how much they hate facing Dragapult in TCG Live. Reports of Gardevoir EX's demise were, well, somewhat accurate, but also a little exaggerated. Losing Radiant Greninja and Kirlia to rotation hurts more than dropping a bottle of foot lotion on your favorite toe. For all of those Guardy players out there who take 5-minute turns on TCG Live, prepare yourselves. This is the Kirlia you have to play post-rotation. Yeah, it's a literal garbage and only exists to evolve into Gardevoir. And even then, not really, because Guardy is running 3 Rare Candy now along with just 3 Ralts. Every Japanese Gardevoir list has one thing in common: they make you wish it was still 2024. Also, they play a copy of Lillie's Clefairy EX. I wasn't joking when I said this is the best card in Journey Together. But here it's used a little differently. While the Terabox deck wants to attack with Clefairy, here it just kinda sits on the bench and plays with itself. Simply by having Clefairy in play, all of your opponent's Dragon Pokemon get a Psychic weakness. Nearly all of your Pokemon here are Psychic types. This means your lower HP attackers like Drifloon and Screamtail can more easily deal with the likes of Dragapult and Raging Bolt. Here's what a typical post-rotation Gardevoir list looks like. It's a 3-2-2 line of Guardy now, 1 of each of your attackers, and Brilliant Blender as your A-Spec to get the Psychic Energy in the discard pile. Blender also gives you the option to mill a useful Pokemon, then stretcher it into your hand. With Heavy Ball rotating, it's very risky to go with 1 Drifloon and 1 Screamtail, so don't be afraid to add a second copy of whichever one you think is best. The nice thing with Gardevoir is that there's lots of different ways to play it. The not nice thing is that it's pretty much going to be stuck in B tier until Mega Gardevoir arrives later this year. Until then, instead of Brilliant Blender, you can go with Hero's Cape or Secret Box as your A-Spec. The Cape allows Drifloon and Screamtail to hit higher numbers, while Secret Box is just a great consistency card that can bin energy and get you other helpful cards. Lillie's Pearl, meanwhile, turns Lillie's Clefairy EX into a single prizer when it's KO'd by damage from an attack, while Explorer's Guidance is another supporter you can try that is destructive but helps churn through your deck faster. Oh, and with the loss of Heavy Ball, you could always play Exchange Ticket, which also helps if you prized a bunch of energy because PTCGL hates you. Elsewhere, I saw a successful Japanese list run to Dunsparce with Enriching Energy. You should be using your manual attachment on Munkidori whenever you have the chance, but being able to recycle Enriching Energy and a Dunsparce every turn means you're drawing 7 cards multiple times in a game. And Moonlit Hill is a way to help heal your Pokemon while also discarding energy. So yes, Gardevoir survives rotation. It's just not anywhere near as good due to the losses of Kirlia and Radiant Greninja. On the bright side, we will almost assuredly get a new Ralts and Kirlia alongside Mega Gardevoir EX towards the end of the year, which we can only hope will improve the deck. One of the most reliable post-rotation decks is Archaludon EX. While not the most outright powerful, it just does so many things super well and doesn't really have weaknesses. Especially when you use Metal Defender. Get it? Because Metal Defender removes its fire weakness? Anyways, the loss of Dialga V-Star isn't great. But just like me, when I met my current girlfriend sitting handcuffed in the courtroom lobby while I was finalizing my divorce, it's moved on really quickly. Hopzation EX is everything Archaludon wants. It's a basic with 230 hit points, a first attack that can snipe a smug little Budew sitting on the bench, and a second attack that can deal upwards of 330 damage. On its own, Brave Slash can one-shot a Raging Bolt EX. That's great. But if you have Hop's Choice Band attached, plus Snorlax and Postwick in play, Zacian's attacks deal 90 extra damage for 1 fewer energy. Use Archaludon to accelerate 2 metal energy to Zacian and you're good to go. There's plenty of ways to run Archaludon successfully post-rotation, and not all of them use Zacian or any new Journey Together cards whatsoever. But old decks without new cards isn't the name of this video. Though that would be a good idea for my next video. No, this first list has 1 copy of Zacian EX and that's it for new cards. The Dunsparce is your card draw, Archaludon is there to hit for 220 and be recycled via Turo and Scoop Up Cyclone, with Zacian able to one-shot Raging Bolt and Snipe Budew. If you find drawing cards with the Dunsparce isn't necessary and Gust would be stronger, swap it out for Hop's Double. When you evolve into Double, you can put any of your opponent's bench Pokemon into the active spot. It's super powerful, allowing you to more easily pick your targets. Because there's ability-based Gust, you can cut a boss's orders and include Black Belt's training, which boosts your damage against the X's. You're still not one-shotting Dragapult or Charizard, but almost everything else is within your range. Should you want to deal over 300 damage though, go with this list. As I talked about in my new decks video, you can choose either a 3-3 Archaludon Zacian build or a 2-2 build. For this one, you don't mess around. Get Duraludon down turn 1 and energy in the discard pile. Next turn, power up a Zacian, get Snorlax, Postwick, and Choice Band into play and start swinging for the fences. This is the best way to play Archaludon and Zacian post-rotation if all you want to do is take big one-hit KOs turn after turn. If you're a bit more sophisticated than those of us with caveman brains, go for the 2-2 Archaludon Zacian build. You can still deal 330 using Brave Slash, it's just a bit riskier. Prizing will be rough, but you have access to Munkidori for healing and picking off lower HP Pokemon. Hop's Cramorant also features heavily, giving you a way to deal upwards of 210 damage for free on your opponent's 3 and 4 prize turns. And there's even Ursaluna for the end of the game to do 240 damage for as little as 0 energy. Basically, if your opponent flips over a Duraludon as their starting Pokemon, they could be playing one of like 7 different builds. Lastly, don't forget that you can include a copy of the Dunsparce EX in any deck running the Dunsparce. Your opponent will need to have 4 EXs in play for it to deal 240 damage, but it does do it for a single energy. Gholdengo EX has always been a safe play, and that doesn't change post-rotation. It doesn't matter how many hit points your opponent's active has, Gholdengo can one-shot it. Add in an ability that draws you cards, and the Silver Surfer is almost self-sufficient, just like when I started doing yoga and got super flexible. There's only 2 new Journey Together cards you need to worry about here, Lavincia and a Dunsparce EX. A card that was clearly designed for Iono's Bellibolt EX, Lavincia finds a better home with Gholdengo. Once during either player's turn, they can put 2 basic lightning energy cards from their discard pile into their hand. While you might be helping out Raging Bolt a little bit, you'll almost always win the prize trade, as you'll be the first one to take a 2 prize KO, unless you start Fezandipiti and can't retreat it. I know I say this in every video, but it bear ticks repeating, Japan does not have access to Pokemon TCG Live. If you're wondering why, it's because TCG Live is developed by the Pokemon Company International, who operates outside of Japan. TCG Pocket, meanwhile, is developed by the Pokemon Company Creatures and DNA, which is why it's available worldwide. Because of this, they don't have to deal with a game designed to screw you over with prizes. So even though several Japanese lists run just 2 copies of Lightning Energy, you're going to want 3. Other than the additions of Lavincia and 2 extra Lightning Energy, Gholdengo's the exact same. You use Energy Search Pro to get one of each type of energy into your hand, launch a big attack, then get that energy back into your hand with superior energy retrieval. Scizor one-shots Mimikyu and deals with ability-heavy decks while being a single prizer, and Munkidori can help heal your Pokemon and maybe take a cheeky Budew KO at some point. For the Dunsparce list, you're just relying on Gholdengo as your attacker unless you run out of gas and need to attack with the Dunsparce, or if they have 4, 5, or 6 EXs in play. With the loss of Canceling Cologne, you'll have to get creative when dealing with Mimikyu, either double attaching to Munkidori or triple attaching to a baby to Dunsparce. You also get absolutely bodied by Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon EX. I definitely prefer the Scizor build, but this one at least offers up more card draw and a little more recovery. Of course, you can always combine the two lists to create something like this, but you will get screwed over by prizes way more. Remember a few minutes ago when a really attractive grown man, and definitely not 3 kids in a trench coat, said Lillie's Clefairy EX is busted? Well, Flareon agrees because the vast majority of post-rotation lists are including a single copy. It's not hard to see why. You can evolve into Flareon turn 1 thanks to Eevee's ability, and attack turn 1 going second using Sparkling Crystal plus a manual attachment or Crispin. Then Burning Charge does 130 damage while also accelerating 2 energy to one of your Pokemon. Clefairy is a Pokemon, so it's a great pairing. And if you don't want to attack with Clefairy, that's totally fine. Its mere existence on the bench makes Sylveon EX doubly gooder, allowing it to one-shot Raging Bolt and Dragapult with Magical Charm. As you can see, post-rotation Flareon is closer to a Terrabox deck than an Evolution deck, though it does have some of those. The only major decision you have to make with this version is 1 Clefairy or 2. It does seem that 60% of Japanese players are going with just 1 copy, but say it with me, Trust Your Pilot is my favorite YouTuber and I will prove it by DMing him feet pics. There's minor variations you can make to Flareon, like going with 2 Sylveon and no Leafeon, or Kieran instead of Black Belt's Training, or Briar instead of Cyrano for a potential extra prize card late. But no matter what you decide to do, about 55 cards will be the same across every build. Taking a closer look at some of the cards in the deck, Leafeon and Wellspring Mask Ogerpon are both Terras, so they can take advantage of Sparkling Crystal, reducing their attack cost by 1. Leafeon punishes decks that get a lot of energy into play, and also one-shots Charizard EX if they have 3 energy in play. Ogerpon takes advantage of Manaphy not being in the format and snipes the bench, while also putting that energy back into the deck. You also use Fan Rotom to deal with Mimikyu and ensure a great turn 1, grabbing Eevee, Hooters, or Noctowl. After that, use Noctowl to get Crispin and power up your attackers. There is a big weakness facing this deck, Milotic EX. Wall decks are going to be a mainstay in our Journey Together format, and Milotic's ability protects it against Terras. Half of your deck is Terras. If you find yourself struggling in this matchup, go with the new Tapu Koko EX or old Zeraora to help. Or swap out Leafeon for Munkidori and try to pick off Feebas before they can become a problem. For most of the decks in this video, I analyzed millions of games in our current standard format, plus billions of games in Japan's Journey Together format to curate the top list to showcase. For this particular deck, I went Herder, Funny Fedora Plant, Make Apple Strong. Now, I'm not saying this is a good combo. Dragapult is the devil and has no sympathy for all of your weak Pokemon. But if you got your toes on a thwacky Dipplin deck because it was cheap and fun to beat people off with, well, Lilligant makes it better. Simply having Lilligant in play boosts the damage your fire and, in this case, grass-type Pokemon deal by 20. Since it stacks and the deck runs a 2-2 line, get both down and fill up your bench. Now Dipplin is dealing 140 damage. Put Testicle Festival in play, now you're attacking for 140 twice. The strategy doesn't really change with the Lilligant build. You run a 2-2 line of Rabsca to try not to lose to Dragapult EX, but thanks to the likes of Dusclops and Dusknoir, you will. Kieran, Vitality Band, and Defiance Band all allow you to deal 300 or more damage with Dipplin, and Survival Brace is there to help you survive a turn. Because Thwacky's ability lets you grab any card from your deck as long as Dipplin is in the active, the deck will always function so long as you don't get bricked up at the start. Research is a scary supporter in a single prize deck, so experiment with Grusha and find out what's underneath that parka. Maximum Belt over Survival Brace allows you to more easily one-shot EXs. Rillaboom is a funny attacker who can maybe buy you a turn at some point, and Black Belt's Training offers a little more oomph than Kieran, but lacks the potential switch effect. I could keep going for another 20 minutes on how to improve old decks with Journey Together cards, but someone recently commented that my voice is annoying, so I'll try to end your misery quickly. While you can pair Froslass with the Lycanroc I showed off in my new decks video, there's actually a much more interesting partner who already exists, Espathra EX. When Espathra is in the active spot, your opponent's active Pokemon needs 1 extra energy to attack. A lot of decks run low counts of energy, so forcing them to miss an attack is highly likely. And while they're busy trying to find Gust cards to get around Espathra, you're building up damage to ability Pokemon with Froslass and moving damage from your Pokemon to theirs with Munkidori. In terms of new cards, there's one, Maractus. For a colorless energy, it traps your opponent's active and deals 20 damage. Plus, if Maractus gets knocked out by damage while in the active, it turns into a bursting balloon and hits them for 6 damage counters. As you can see from the list, it's only slightly modified from Froslass, Munkidori, Budew. Espathra is annoying as hell and can be a fairly decent attacker, while Maractus can trap someone in the active. Ursaluna is your heavy hitter at the end of a game, and the 4 counter catcher allow you to trap the worst Pokemon imaginable for your opponent. There really isn't room for them, but Crushing Hammer makes Espathra EX much stronger. Instead of 3 Artisan, you could remove 1 or 2 to add Pokemon Lead HQ. Counter Dane allows Maractus to attack for free and use your attach for turn on Munkidori. And Iris's Fighting Spirit is a far less destructive supporter option when compared to Research. If you're looking to update your old decks for the new Journey Together format beginning on March 27th in Pokemon TCG Live, you'll find lists in the description and the comments. If this video gets at least 69 likes, I'll do another video on how old decks are changing post-rotation, but don't actually need any new cards. Until then, let everyone know your crazy Pokemon conspiracy theories in the comments. I mean, Ash must have used a Jirachi wish to keep himself young forever, right?